En luisteraars, ondertussen hebben wij aan de lijn Carolyne Van Der Meer. Good morning, Carolyne.
Hello, Martin. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you for getting up so early.
My pleasure.
Now, Carolyne, I was last night, I was there when you launched the book, The Motherlode. Tell us, first of all, tell us a little bit about the title.
Well, the title is a bit of a play on words because the book is in large part about my mother and her experiences growing up in war-torn Holland. But it's also a play on the notion of motherlode, as in finding the gold, finding the motherlode, and which is what I felt that I did with her. I got to know her in a way that I hadn't known her before. And also, I interviewed a number of other Dutch people who grew up during the Nazi occupation, and I found a lot of gold nuggets with them too.
Wow, wonderful. Now, Carolyne, did your mother talk about those years to you and your family when you guys were growing up?
She did, but it was sort of little tidbits, little stories, but nothing really in depth. So we all had a sense that she and her family had done certain things. We knew that her father worked with the Dutch resistance. We knew that they had a false floor between their first and second stories, and they hid Jewish people who were trying to escape there. So they were active in the Dutch resistance and helping getting these people out of the country. So there were, and we knew that there were tulip bulbs that my grandfather ate because there wasn't enough food. So we had little things that we knew, but nothing. And the other thing too is that my mother could never watch war movies. And we would say, well, why, Mom? Come watch this movie with us. She's like, no, I can't hear those sounds. So we knew little things, but we didn't know the depth of it.
Now, your mom was quite young, and what to remember a lot of these things. But what gave you the idea to write about the war years? Is that because of the little bit you heard from your mother?
Well, as I was, deciding that I wanted to write a book, I thought, I've always wanted to write. I've always wanted to know these stories. So that was one thing, and that had always kind of been playing around in my mind. But the thing that really pushed me to do it was that my son, who's now 13, used to ask, when he was much younger, he used to ask a lot of questions. He used to say, what did Oma's family do in the war again? And he would ask pretty regularly, and it kind of planted the seed for me that these are stories that should be told, and he should know really what his family did. And also for the sort of larger population, these stories shouldn't be lost.
Yeah, that's true. Now, your mother, has she read the book, and what are her impressions of what you have written?
Yes, she's read the book. I didn't let her read the book until I knew that it was going to be published. So she knew that it was happening, obviously, because we spent many, many hours talking and interviewing. But I wouldn't let her see anything because I wanted to have the good news of saying to her, it's really going to happen. And at that moment, I gave her the manuscript pages, and because obviously we hadn't produced the book yet, and she sent me a letter after she read it, and she said, I couldn't sleep. I started it and I couldn't put it down, and then I couldn't sleep for 2 nights. And then she said in her letter, but I'm not telling you this to upset you. I just want you to know how much it affected me. Yeah. And that was quite a compliment to me.
Yeah, sure was. Now, in the part of the book, I've read the book, and after being at Cannes last night, the book even made more sense to me after listening to you explain some of the things. But the part that really gripped me was that your mother, in later life, she became a volunteer for the fire department, and when she heard the siren, she totally lost it. And that was amazing, wasn't it? How things come back. It just gave me the shivers.
Absolutely. And the funny thing about that story is that, yes, that story truly did happen. There's a lot of fictional stuff in the story that I added.
Sure.
But it truly did happen. And she, the really interesting thing is that the one of the people who reviewed the manuscript before it was accepted by Wilfrid University Press said, this story is just unbelievable. Yeah. It couldn't have possibly happened. And my, of course, response to the acquisitions editor was, no, this is actually true. And this is post-traumatic stress syndrome at its height,
That's right.
And like you say, people never forget these things.
And Carolyne, it's almost like in some of the Jewish seniors' home where the nurses have to walk on soft-soled shoes because if they wear hard shoes, it reminds some people of the harsh steps that from the war years. You know what I mean? Now, okay, writing this book, what has it done? What has it left you? Because you have heard many, many stories. And what has been your impression of listening, not only to your mother, but other people as well?
Well, there are a lot of things that I could say in answer to that question. Mm-hmm. One of the things is that the book has had this unusual effect of connecting me to people who were willing to speak to a complete stranger about things that were very intimate for them and very difficult. But on a sort of larger scale, it allows those stories to go outward and then create a conversation outside of the book. The book is creating conversation, which is what I think is so fabulous, because a lot of these stories wouldn't be told. I mean, you heard it yourself in the room last night. So many people said that they had similar stories in their families, but their parents wouldn't talk about it. They just wouldn't. They wouldn't entertain even the smallest question. And it's so wonderful, I think, that now this can be an impetus to talk about things that were so difficult.
Yeah, that's true. Now, the Motherlode, very reasonably priced, I thought. And where can people get it?
Well, it is available in some chapters. Chapters has purchased a number of copies and they've distributed them to various stores. The second place that's easiest is on just ordering it online on Amazon or from the publisher directly. Okay.
And actually, if people type in Google the Motherlode, it'll probably come up.
It will come up, but so will a bunch of computer games. So just make sure you type the subtitle, which is a Mosaic of Dutch Wartime Experience.
Oh, wonderful. Carolyne, I wish you all the best, and especially listening to you last night and talking about eating tulip bulbs. It sure brought memories back for me, because as I said to the crowd last night, they didn't taste very good. Carolyne, I want to wish you all the success and with the book, and let's stay in touch with the Dutch.
Thank you very much, Martin, for having me.
Luisteraars, this was Carolyne Van Der Meer, the author of the wonderful book, The Motherlode, a history of people from Dutch wartime, and it's just I can really recommend it. It's only it was only $21.95 last night, so it's very reasonable. And as you said, you just go on there, The Motherlode, history of wartime stories, and. If you can't find it, give me a call at the number of the Dutch Canadian Association, 416-229-1753, and I will put you on the right track.